At the Crease with Kieran Powell. Cricket fans in Sri Lanka, in the Caribbean and all over the world. This is At the Crease with West Indies international cricketer Kieran Powell. And of course, the second and the final test between Sri Lanka and West Indies is equally poised at this point of time. West Indies resuming their first innings from 69 for the loss of 1 wicket, scored 253 runs in their first innings. In response, Sri Lanka were 46 runs for the loss of 2 wickets with 3 more runs to be scored to bridge that deficit. As usual, I've got Kieran Powell, the West Indies international cricketer, and of course Vindana Prasad Karunaratne from our Newsfirst team. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Kieran, my perspective is that the match is equally poised based on the context of the game. Where do you think who has the upper hand in this particular match?
No, Sri Lanka definitely in massive trouble at the moment. I think having lost Dimuth Karunaratne to a run out today, being in the deficit, and with Angelo Matthews being injured and not being able to contribute much in the second innings, he didn't feel at all for Sri Lanka. I think that the West Indies would be very happy going into day 4, which I personally feel is going to be the last day of the match.
Vindana, ඔබගෙනුත් මම දැනගන්න කැමතියි අතටම මේ තරගයේදී කවුද ඉදිරියෙන්ම සිටින්නේ අතට?
දැනට කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායම බොහෝ දුරට මේ තරගයේ ඉදිරියෙන් ඉන්නවා. ප්‍රතිඵලය බොහෝ විට හෙට දිනය අනුව තීරණය වේවි. කයිරන් සඳහන් කළ ආකාරයටම ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම මේ මොහොත වෙද්දී කඩළු දෙකක් බිඳ වැටුණට ඇන්ජලෝ මැතිව්ස් අපට ප්‍රතිකරුවෙක් හැටියට දැක්කන්නට ලැබෙවිද කියන ප්‍රශ්නාර්ථයත් එක්ක ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමට පීඩනය වැඩි. එහෙම වුණොත් බොහෝ දුරට තවමත් මේ තරගයේ පාලනය කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායම සතුයි.
இலங்கை மற்றும் மேற்கிந்திய தீவுகளுக்கு இடையிலான இரண்டாவது டெஸ்ட் கிரிக்கெட் போட்டியில் 3ஆம் நாள் ஆட்டம் முடியும் போது இலங்கை அணி 46 ஓட்டங்களை பெற்றுள்ளது. 2 விக்கெட் இழப்பிற்கு. முன்னதாக மேற்கிந்திய தீவுகள் அணி 253 ஓட்டங்களை பெற்றிருந்தது. தனது முதலாவது இன்னிங்ஸில் 49 ஓட்டங்கள் வித்தியாசத்தில் முன்னிலையில் இருந்தது மேற்கிந்திய தீவுகள் அணி. இலங்கையை பொறுத்தமட்டில் கைரன் மற்றும் விந்தன் பிரசாத் கூறியது போல தற்பொழுது ஆட்டத்தின் படி தற்பொழுது நிலைமை என்னவென்றால் மேற்கிந்திய தீவுகள் அணி முன்னிலையில் இருப்பதாக விந்தன் பிரசாத் கருணாரத்ன மற்றும் கைரன் பவர் தெரிவித்தார். என் நிலை என்னவென்றால் இலங்கை அணி முன்னிலையில் இருப்பது என்பதுதான் நான் கூற விரும்புகிறேன். Looking at how the match played out yesterday, West Indies were 69 for the loss of 1 wicket yesterday, and we thought you were messaging me when the play was going on. The score was 142 runs for the loss of 2 wickets, and we kind of expected, look, West Indies are going to tumble during the latter part of their batting innings, and it happened exactly. And you yourself yesterday told that West Indies would score around 250 runs. Prophecy came true.
Second day in a row, prophecy has come true. I think the West Indies obviously put up an amazing fight today. They said from the team meetings and the team interviews, pre-match interviews, that they're going to look to build an innings around one person, and then the other guys are going to look to use their sweeps, look to use the crease, be positive in defence, and just bat themselves going into this match. Craig Bathwaite, on his birthday today, unfortunately missed out on a century for him, but he'd have been happy that he spent a lot of time, set up the match in the first innings, which is very important in these conditions, having lost the toss and batting second. So the West Indies will be happy with that lead. As I said, a 50-run lead on this pitch is equivalent to a 125, 150-run lead on another pitch. So the West Indies will look to take that into tomorrow, which I personally feel is going to be the last day. I think that the ball is going to really start to do a lot. The West Indies spinners have really outbowled the Sri Lankan spinners in this match in terms of the pace, the lengths, the accuracy, the consistency, and asking the Sri Lankan batters to make a decision ball after ball, whether it's going to spin or go straight.
We saw during the match, there's a lot of turn that was available for the spinners. Kemar Roach, from the West Indies standpoint, only bowled 6 overs. What are the areas for the benefit of our viewers, that the Sri Lankan batsmen should be concerned of in the pitch, and how should they, bat tomorrow to make sure that they get us to a kind of a decent total for us to get into a winning position? I'm talking about Sri Lanka. You can show that.
Well, the Sri Lankan batters right now, you have 2 very young batters, one making his debut in Lanka and one in Nisanka, who's just within the first 10 matches of his career. Lanka is going to have to be mindful. He's facing 2 left-arm spinners. They've been bowling the ball on that 6 to 8 meter length. But what you notice is that around here, that 6 to 8 meter length, there's a lot of puffs of smoke every time the ball hits the pitch. That means it's not compact. So one may go and slide on, hit the middle of the bat, the other may spin, pop, and that brings the short leg and the leg slip into play, as he got out in the first innings. Today I also felt if the play went on for another half an hour, with the way Roston Chase was bowling at him, I thought that Roston Chase would have dismissed him. He left some balls that passed right next to the stump. He was going back to cut some balls that weren't spinning and angling in into his pads, into his stumps, and I think that he's very fortunate to get through today's play. Having said that, he survived. He looked tomorrow to go, try and get in, build an innings. Any little partnership here for Sri Lanka is going to go a long way in the context of this match. If they could get a little 30 to 50 run partnership, that will ease the pressure on the dressing room, knowing that their most experienced, informed senior batter in the skipper has been run out, and Angela Matthews won't play much of a part in this innings. And you've got all the other batters in the innings to come that are under pressure trying to get a score.
ඔබට තෝරගන්න සිදු වුණොත් එම වෙන්දන ලසිත් ඇම්බුල්දෙනිය ප්‍රවීන් ජයවික්‍රම සහ රමේෂ් මෙන්ඩිස් එක්කෙනෙක් එක ස්පින් බෝලර් කෙනෙක් ටීම් එකට තෝරගන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් කවුද අතරම ඔබ තෝරගන්නේ?
මම හිතන්නේ තුන්දෙනාම එක වගේ දක්ෂතාවයේ තියෙන පන්දුවවන්නන් තිදෙනෙක් කොහොම නමුත් අපි මේ තරගයේදී රමේෂ්ගේ දකින විශේෂත්වය තමයි මාටින් මේ තනතිරුවත් එක්ක රමේෂ්ගේ පන්දුවීමේ ස්වභාවය තිබෙනවා අනෙක් පන්දුවවන්නන් දෙදෙනාට සාපේක්ෂව වෙනසක්. ඒට හේතුව ඔහු කඩුල්ලක් දවා ගැනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය කරන අමුතු වටපිටාවක් සකස් කර ගන්නවා. නමුත් ප්‍රවීන්ගේ සහ ලසිත් ඇඹුල්දෙනියගේ අපි දකින්නේ ඔවුන් දෙදෙනා දිගින් දිගටම පන්දුට පහර දෙන ක්‍රීඩකයින් වෙත පන්දුව යොමු කිරීමේදී ඔවුන් කඩුල්ලක් ලබා ගන්නට තිබෙන සම්භාවිතාවය අපි දකින්නේ සාමාන්‍ය තත්වයක්. ඔවුන් හොඳින් පන්දු යවනවා. නමුත් රමේෂ් මෙන්ඩිස්ගේ අපි දකිනවා ඊට වඩා දඟ කැවීමක් එක්ක පන්දුව පිටිකරුවන්ට තේරුම් ගැනීමට අපහසු තත්වයක් මේ තනතිරුවට අනුව. නමුත් බොහෝ විට හරියාකාරව කියන්නේ මේ තිදෙනාගෙන් යම්කිසි ආකාරයකට පන්දු යවන්නෙක් තෝරා ගන්න කිව්වොත් බොහෝ විට මගේ තේරීම බවට පත් වෙන්නේ ප්‍රවීන්.
I had another question as well, Kieran. Yesterday, 69 for 1, 140 odd runs for the loss of 2 wickets, West Indies, and then the spinners came into the action from the Sri Lankan standpoint. Looking back, now let's assume Charita Asalanka and Pathu Nissanka would continue to bat till about the afternoon session tomorrow. Would West Indies be worried that they should have gotten more than 253 runs?
Well, I think the nature of this pitch is that we've seen no batter has actually really been set. Even Craig Brathwaite got 70. He had to bat a very long time for that 70. He batted 180 something balls, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think it's going to be a situation of guys hanging around tomorrow. I think the way that Kyle Mayer's played, actually, he's been probably the most valuable player of the match, because that 30 odd runs coming in at the tail end of the West Indies innings and versus Sami Parmal and the other guys that stuck around with him and contributed, that's what gave the West Indies a lead on this pitch when it looked like the West Indies were going to be bowled out for around the same score as Sri Lanka. That would have left the game wide open again. So I think that tomorrow it's not going to be a situation where guys can just miraculously come and bat for long periods of time, get in, settle down. The pitch is doing too much. The spinners are having their way. In the entire series, Galle is known for spinners to be a productive hunting place. So batters need to try and find a way to score as many as possible before they do get out. That is my perspective.
Angela Matthews most probably will not bat tomorrow, and Sri Lanka would be effectively right now -3 runs for the loss of 3 wickets.
Exactly, and the West Indies will be very happy about that, knowing that they've only got to get another 7 wickets. They're going to try and restrict Sri Lanka to under 200. They're going to try and restrict Sri Lanka to under 150, which means that they'll only have to chase 100. Anywhere between 100, 125, the West Indies will feel comfortable. It's not going to be an easy task, but they'll feel comfortable in thinking, the West Indies, we can get our first victory in Sri Lanka, a place that the West Indies has never won a test match. I think if it starts to get up into that 150, 180 area, it's going to be a very difficult match for the West Indies to win. So the West Indies will be patient, build pressure, but try and hunt wickets as well tomorrow morning as early as possible and break into that batting lineup of Sri Lanka's.
ප්‍රේක්ෂකයන්ට අපි මතක් කරන්න කැමති අතරම ඇවිල්ලා කයිල් මයර්ස් බංග්ලාදේශ ක්‍රීඩා කණ්ඩායමට එරෙහිව ලකුණු 200ක් ලබා ගත්ත ඔහුගේ පළවෙනි තරගයේදී එක දඟ කැවෙන තනතිරුවක් විඳන ඇතර බැලුවොත් ඊයේ ඔබ සඳහන් කරා මම සඳහන් කරාදී චරිත අසලංක ගොඩක් ලකුණු රැස් කරේ නැහැ කියලා ඔබ කිව්වා පළවෙනි වන් ඩේ තරගෙත් ඇවිල්ලා ලකුණු 0.6 ලබා ගත්තේ කියලා. ඔබේ අදහස කොහොමද චරිත අසලංක හෙට ලකුණු සංඛ්‍යාවක් රැස් කරයිද?
ඔව් එතෙන්දී ඔහුට පෙන්වන්නට වෙනවා තමන්ගේ ක්‍රිකට් ක්‍රීඩාව තුළ තිබෙන දක්ෂතාවය. එහෙම නැත්නම් මෙවැනි අසීරු අවස්ථාවක තමන්ගේ පිත්ත කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද හසුරවන්නේ කියන එක අපි දන්නවා. පැතුම් නිස්සංක නියත වශයෙන්ම තරගාවලිය තුළ සහ මීට පෙර ලකුණු අතර හිටියා. ඔහුට හොඳ ආරක්ෂාවක් තිබෙනවා. ඔහුගේ විශ්වාසය ඒ වගේම මානසික ඒකාග්‍රතාවය පිළිබඳව ඔහුට ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. නමුත් චරිත අසලංක තමාගේ ටෙස්ට් ජීවිතයේ තවමත් මුහුණ දෙමින් සිටින්නේ දෙවන ඉනිම. නමුත් සඳහන් කළ යුතු කාරණාව ඔවුන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා පළමු පෙළ තරඟාවලිය තුළ ඉතාමත්ම හොඳින් ක්‍රීඩා කරපු ක්‍රීඩකයෝ. ඉතින් මේ වගේ තනතිරුවල අනන්තවත් ක්‍රීඩා කරන්නට අවස්ථාව උදා කරගෙන ඇති චරිත අසලංක අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ චරිත අසලංකගෙන් අනගීනීමක්. අපිට මතකයි වරක් මේ වගේම තනතිරුවක ශ්‍රී ලංකාව අසරණ වෙලා ඉන්න වෙලාවක මහනුවර පල්ලිකැලේ ජාත්‍යන්තර ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේදී කුසල් මෙන්ඩිස් ලකුණු 189ක අනගීනීමක් ක්‍රීඩා කරනු ලැබුවා. ඉතින් හෙට දවසේදී එවන් වූ ඉනිමක් ක්‍රීඩා කරන්නට චරිත අසලංක අවස්ථාවක් උදා කරගත්තොත් අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා පැතුම් නිස්සංකයේ කඩුල්ල කොහොමත් සුරක්ෂිතයි. හෙට දිනේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමට වඩාත් වැදගත් වෙන්නේ කඩුළු ආරක්ෂා කරමින් කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායමට පීඩනයක් ගෙන දෙන්නට හැකි ලකුණු පුරක් කරා යාම. නමුත් අපි දකින ප්‍රධානතම කාරණාව තනතිරුව අතිශයින්ම දඟපන්දු යවන්නන් කෙරෙහි වැඩි සහයෝගයක් දක්වන ආකාරය අපි දැක්කා මේ ඉනිම් දෙක සහ මේ ගත වෙන තවත් ඉනිමක් තුළ. ඉතින් අපේ විශ්වාසය හෙට දිනේදී මේ පිටිකරුවන් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම Tamanගේ කඩුල්ල ආරක්ෂා කර ගනිමින් හොඳ සබඳතාවයකට යන්නට ඕනේ. ඒ සඳහා නියත හැකියාව සහ ශක්තිය මානසික ඒකාග්‍රතාවය අත්දැකීම් ඕනෑමටත් වඩා මේ ක්‍රීඩකින් දෙන්නට තියෙනවා.
Talking about the batting of Sri Lanka, now we are talking from a West Indies perspective. We are expecting West Indies to chase down 125 runs to win their first ever test match since 1993. Now, we cannot take away the fact that you still have Dhananjay De Silva, who scored a 50, who's in a prime form. We cannot take anything away from Dinesh Chandimal as well. And all-rounder Ramesh Mendis is there, and a couple of other batters in the likes of Pathum Nissak and Charith Asalanka is in the mix. What do you think about, from a West Indies standpoint? Are you concerned that these batters are still yet to bat, and how would you approach?
Not necessarily, because as I said, the West Indian spinners have definitely outbowled the Sri Lankan spinners. They're not giving the Sri Lankan batters any opportunity, any breathing room. It's a lot of pressure, inconsistency, making you play ball after ball. Batters, sometimes you want the ability to just see a few balls go past the bat, leave a few balls, get comfortable, get in, get set. The West Indies bowlers are making the Sri Lankan batters play every single ball. And that's very difficult on a pitch like this. When you, as a batter, you don't know what the ball is going to do. And if you can't get directly to the pitch of the ball or have enough time to get back because of the pace that the West Indies spinners are bowling, then it's very difficult to survive. And that's why it doesn't really matter who is to come on either side. It's something that the batters have to be mindful of in terms of trying to get a quick start. And that's why I thought that Jermaine Blackwood's start to the innings yesterday was very crucial to the score that the West Indies got today.
Now, we always been bringing up some technical aspect of this test between Sri Lanka and West Indies as well. The usage of the heavy and the right roller. And you said if you use a heavy roller, then the pitch gets compressed, and for about 1.5 hours to 2 hours, the pitch would be live. It will look like a fresh pitch. Sri Lanka would have to follow the same rule tomorrow as well when they start batting?
Definitely. But Sri Lanka will obviously have that in the back of their mind. Let's try and give ourselves the best chance for our batters to get set. What the West Indies will do in that time frame that Sri Lankan batters are getting set is try and restrict run scoring. Make run scoring as difficult as possible. We're not getting any wickets, we're not going to give you any runs. Same thing that Sri Lanka weren't able to do this morning, but they did it in the first test match. They restricted the West Indies batters from scoring. And when the wickets came, we saw the West Indies were 18 for 6. Now, something like that could well happen again tomorrow. The West Indies still have a relatively fresh ball, good seam, and then the Sri Lankan bowlers have to bowl on the pitch when it's going to be at its complete worst. But what's going to play in the West Indies' hands is that the pitch is going to be rolled with the heavy roller twice tomorrow at the start of the day's play and before they go to bed. So it's going to be an interesting day.
And choosing of roller is vested with the batting team, is that right?
With the skipper of each team.
With the team, okay. All right, so I just had another question as well. You said prior to the show that the match is going to be over by the 4th day, which is tomorrow. Which means we are talking about maybe if Sri Lanka is dismissed, West Indies needs to take another 7 more wickets, and then West Indies will have to chase down the target with whatever the amount of wicket that they will lose. Then it's important for us to discuss how West Indies would chase down the target as well. You said 125 runs is what they're looking at. What's going to be a difficult target for West Indies to chase down tomorrow? Which means, in other words, what is the amount of runs that Sri Lanka should set for the West Indies to chase down?
I think the West Indies will want to get Sri Lanka out in that 170, 160 run mark tomorrow, which means that they don't want Sri Lanka to get off to a quick start. They want to make early inroads as well. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, will want as many runs as possible. I think anything over 150, definitely anything over 180, Sri Lanka will be in the driver's seat. Sri Lanka will have all the weapons at their disposal to come and attack the West Indies right through, because it's an open series and both teams need to have a win. So I think that tomorrow is going to be an interesting day. Early wickets or an early partnership will set the tone for whatever happens for the rest of this match from tomorrow.
ලකුණු 150ක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම සෙට් කරොත් එහෙම ටාගට් එකක් හැටියට වෙස්ට් ඉන්ඩීස් කණ්ඩායමට ජයග්‍රහණ එක අත් කරගන්න පුළුවන් ඒ කියලා කයිරු කියනවා.
ඔව් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම. මොකද අපි දැක්කේ පළමු ඉනිමේදීත් මාටින් කයිරන් සඳහන් කළ ආකාරයට එක්කම මම දකින විදිහට කොදෙව්වන් කඩුළු ආරක්ෂා කර ගැනීමට වඩා ලකුණු අතරට එන්න උත්සාහ කරපු ආකාරයක් තමයි අපි දැක්කේ. ඔවුන් කඩුල්ල කොතරම් දුරට ආරක්ෂා කර ගත්තත් ඔවුන් හැම අවස්ථාවකම ලකුණු අතර හිටියා. ඒක තමයි අපි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් දැක්කේ. ලකුණු 69කට එක් කඩුල්ලයි ඊට පස්සේ දෙවන කඩුල්ල බිඳ වැටෙන තෙක්ම වුන් ඊටමත්ම හොඳින් ඉක්මනින් ලකුණු අතරට ගියා. නමුත් අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකා පළමුවෙනි මෙහෙම දෙයක් දැක්කේ නැහැ. පළමු ක්‍රීඩකින් දෙදෙනා හොඳ සබඳතාවයක් ගොඩනංවලා තිබෙන පසුබිමකත් කඩුල්ලක් දෙකක් බිඳ වැටුනහම අනෙක් ප්‍රතිකරුවන් ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේ ක්‍රීඩා කරපු ආකාරය හොඳ සංයමයෙන් ක්‍රීඩා කරපු ඉනිමක් අපි දැක්කේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේම ලකුණු අතරට එන්න උත්සාහ කරන ආකාරයක් අපි දැක්කෙත් නැහැ. කඩුළු 6ක් 7ක් බිඳ වැටුනම අනෙක් ක්‍රීඩකින් විශාල පහරවල් වලට යන්නට උත්සාහ කළා. ඒ තරඟ කැවෙන තන තීරුවේ දඟ කැවීමට එරෙහිව පහරවල් එල්ල කරන්නට නොහැකි බව සුරංග ලක්මාල් එහෙම එල්ල කරන පහරවල් වලින් අපි දැක්කා. ඉතින් අපේ විශ්වාසය, මගේ විශ්වාසයට අනුව කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායම ක්‍රීඩා කළේ ඉතාමත්ම හොඳින් Tamanගේ කඩුල්ල ආරක්ෂා කර ගන්නවා වගේම ඉක්මනින් ලකුණු අතරට යන්නට උත්සාහ කළා. එහෙම වුණොත් ලකුණු 150ක වගේ අභියෝගයක් කියන්නේ කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායමට මේ කඩුල්ල තුළ ඔවුන්ගේ පළමුවෙනිම දිහා බැලුවාම සහ ලකුණු එතරම් ලොකු අභියෝගයක් නොවන්නට පුළුවන්.
Kieran Powell என்ன சொன்னா 125 ஓட்டங்கள் வெஸ்ட் இண்டீஸ் கிரிக்கெட் டீம் வந்து ஸ்ரீலங்கா கிரிக்கெட் டீம் வெஸ்ட் இண்டீஸ் டீமுக்கு டார்கெட்டை செட் பண்ணா வெஸ்ட் இண்டீஸ் டீமுக்கு கொஞ்சம் லேசாக இருக்கும் இந்த டார்கெட்டை சேஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு. இந்த மீன் டைம் அவர் வேறு என்ன சொன்னாங்க, ஸ்ரீலங்கன் டீம் கண்டெக்ஸ் படி பார்க்கக்குள்ள ஸ்ரீலங்கன் டீமுக்கு ஒரு 170 180 ரன்ஸ் மாதிரி ஒரு டார்கெட்டை வெஸ்ட் இண்டீஸ் டீமுக்கு சேஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு கொடுத்தா மேபி ஸ்ரீலங்கன் ஸ்பின்னர்ஸ் ஆல முடியும் வெஸ்ட் இண்டீஸ் பேட்ஸ்மேனை கண்டெயின் பண்ணுறதுக்கு. தட்ஸ் எக்ஸாக்ட்லி Kieran Powell மற்றும் இந்திரா பிரசாத் கருணாரத்ன இப்போ தெரிவித்தாங்க. Kieran, if you were Charita Salanka and Pathum Nisanka, would you change, if you go defensive early in the morning? You said some of the balls will turn away from the bat and some would just, get inside the body of the batsman and you get caught at short leg. Would you rather counter-attack in the morning hours tomorrow?
I think that may be a better option, especially given the pitch is going to be at its best tomorrow morning. The pace and the lengths that the West Indies bowlers are bowling at now, I'm going to demonstrate it as a left-hander, obviously. The Sri Lankan batters don't have the option of coming down the pitch anymore because the West Indian bowlers are bowling at a faster pace. So now you've seen Charith Asalanka revert to going and sweeping the ball. What the West Indies can do is try and force Charith Asalanka to play the reverse sweep, taking out the guy at point and put him in at a short square leg, because they've got two guys down on the boundary and a guy at short 45 for the top edge if the ball sweeps and it goes behind him. You've also still got guys here. Charith Asalanka now will hope that the West Indies doesn't do that and he can continue to just play a conventional sweep, low risk, it's outside off stump, he's getting his body outside off stump, so if he misses the ball and it hits him, it won't be out LBW. Pathum Nisanka, on the other hand, for the left arm spinners, I really like the line that Jomel Warrican was bowling to him, middle and leg stump. So if he misses, it's targeting the stump. But if it spins past as well, he's got the outside edge. So he's got both edges to play with and the pad. He's given himself every chance. Veerasamy Parmal looked to have gained lots of confidence from that 5-wicket haul. You see today he was bowling a bit slow at times, really giving the ball a nice flight, varying his pace really well. And Roston Chase didn't have to do as much bowling because the two main spinners did their job, which means that when he comes on, he's going to have a lot fresher fingers, a lot more energy, so he can put a lot more revs onto the ball when he has to bowl as well. So I think it's going to be a lot harder for the right-handed batters. That's why the West Indies went with the extra left-arm spinner, and Sri Lanka have a host of right-handed batters to come. So it's going to be an interesting day for the right-handers they can't necessarily, as I said, calm down the pitch because of the pace and the ball spinning away from them. And they can't go to sweep those balls because it's at the stump. You don't want to play a sweep shot on this pitch when the ball is doing that much. So the right-handed batters are going to have to try and use the depth of their crease, work the ball here, try and nudge some singles, get off strike, force the bowlers to come a bit fuller because they're playing back, and then get out and drive the ball into the gap.
වින්දන ඔබ මොනවද හිතන්නේ ඇත්තටම කාරණ කියපු දේ ගැන පැතුම් නිසංක සහ චරිත අසලංකයට මැච් එක අප්‍රෝච් කරන විදිය?
ඔව් ඇත්තටම පීඩනයක් තිබෙනවා. ඔව් සඳහන් කරන ආකාරයට ඔවුන්ගේ දඟපන්දියවන්නන් පෙරුමාල් වොල්කන් කියන දඟපන්දියවන්නන් දෙදෙනාගේ පීඩනයට නියත වශයෙන්ම මේ මොහොතේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමට මුහුණ දෙන්නට සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මොකද අපි දකින්නේ නැහැ ඖෂධ හොඳ පිතිකරුවෙක් හැටියට මේ තරඟාවලිය තුල සහ මීට පෙර ක්‍රීඩා කරා කියන එක. ඒකම දිමුත් වඩාත්ම ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමේ විශ්වසනීය පිතිකරුවා අපට අහිමි වෙලා අවසන්. ඒ අතර ඇන්ජලෝ මැතිව්ස් සම්බන්ධයෙන් තිබෙන ප්‍රවෘත්තියත් තරම් හොඳ ප්‍රවෘත්තියක් නොවේ. එහෙම පසුබිමක මේ පීඩනය ලැබුණොත් නියත වශයෙන්ම මේ කඩළු දෙක හෙට දිනේ තීරණාත්මක කඩළු දෙක බවට පත් වෙනවා. මොකද මේ කඩළු දෙකෙන් එකක් උදේම ලබා ගන්නට කොදෙව් කණ්ඩායමේ පන්දු යවන්නන් සමත් වුණොත් ඒ පීඩනය පසුපසට ලැබෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ දිනේෂ් චන්දිමාල්ට ඉන් අනතුරුව ක්‍රීඩා පිටියට පිවිසෙන ධනංජය ඩි සිල්වා මේ සියලු පිටිකරුවන්ටම මේ පීඩනය ලැබෙන නිසා වඩාත්ම ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේ මේ ක්‍රීඩකින් දෙදෙනාගේ කඩුල්ල සහ සබඳතාවය හෙට දිනේදී ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමේ ජයග්‍රහණය හෝ අභියෝගය සම්බන්ධයෙන් බලපාන තීරණාත්මක සාධකය බවට පත් වෙනවා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම ගැන හිතුවොත් එම කයිරන් හෙට දිනේදී ඔබ හිතන්නේ කවුද වැඩිම ලකුණු සංඛ්‍යාවක් ග්‍රස් කරගන්නේ? Looking at the context of the match tomorrow, we've got experienced batting order coming on, Chandimal and Dhananjay De Silva due to bat. Who do you think from a Sri Lankan standpoint could be a match winner tomorrow?
I think you're looking at Dhananjay De Silva and Dennis Chandimal, the two senior guys left to bat, have to take the brunt of the responsibility and bat as long as possible for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka will be trying to bat at least 2.5 sessions tomorrow. The West Indies will be trying to get Sri Lanka out within a session and a half max. So those are the little battles. You know that.
Quick prediction for tomorrow. We are coming to the end of the show.
West Indies win at the end of the day's play, chasing 120.
So Kieran is saying that West Indies will win the match tomorrow, chasing 120 runs. That's at the end of the fourth day. You're standing by the decisions. Can I confirm that?
Confirm. 3 days, 3 predictions, correct.
All right, that's all we've got on at the crease with Kieran Powell on the third day's play analysis on TV1. Of course, with the expectation of bringing you the fourth day play analysis tomorrow, we are signing off. This is Martin, Kieran Powell, and of course, Vindan Prasad Karunaratne from the Newsfirst team. Goodbye.
At the crease with Kieran Powell.